Hi, librarians, library types, and techies. Welcome to Begin Transmission, an original series produced by the LITA blog. Each episode features a lively conversation and the opportunity to learn something new. I'm your host, Lindsay Kronk. Behind me is my co-host, David Bowie. And today we're joined by John Klima, my fellow LITA blogger and assistant director of the Waukesha Public Library. John, before we get too deep into any relevant topics, okay, I was wondering if you'd be willing to talk a little bit about your passion for steampunk.
I have liked steampunk for a long, long time. I discovered a couple steampunk novels in the 90s by K.W. Jeter and Paul DiFilippo, and thought they were great. Couldn't find a lot of other things. And then the end of the 90s into the 2000s, there was sort of an explosion of steampunk stuff. And you had great things like Steampunk Encyclopedia and a bunch of different novels, Sherry Priest's great Bone Shaker series, which was in America.
I love Bone Shaker.
And all those things were great. And I wrote a couple articles for Library Journal about steampunk you should add to your collection. And I had started working on a steampunk reader's advisory book for ALA, but we just wasn't quite enough content to do steampunk on its own. So we ended up killing the project after a while, and steampunk has tapered back a little bit, but I still really enjoy reading those things. I'm kind of glancing off to my right because I have a bookcase filled with steampunk books in my office. So
that's totally awesome.
Yeah.
Do you think that interest in sort of steampunk fueled your interest in technology a little, or vice versa? Did you sort of find your way to LITA through steampunk, or how did you wind up working with us?
I've always liked technology from a young age. We had computers in the house pretty early on. I worked on computers in school pretty early on, and it always came very naturally to me. So it's something that was kind of fun. You know, when you're good at something, it inspires you to keep working on it.
Totally.
And as far as library world, I mean, that was sort of an odd thing because I finished up my degree in college, and I have an English and philosophy double major, which doesn't really lead to a job. So I was working at a Barnes & Noble as a manager for a while, and then I moved out east, and I worked in publishing in New York
wow,
for 5 or 6 years, and it doesn't pay very well. So I shifted into computer programming, of all things, and I did that for a couple more years, and I was not happy doing that work because all of a sudden I went from working with lots of people to being more isolated. And then I remembered one of my college roommates who had gone on to library school right after college, and he always seemed really happy with what he was doing.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know, I've worked in bookstores, I've worked as an editor, I've worked with technology.
You sort of danced all around the edges of it.
Yeah, so I got all my experience first, and then I went to library school 10 years after my undergrad. And then that's just been sort of my in, is that I've got this technology background that I'm bringing into the library world. So LITA is a perfect fit for me.
Totally. I sort of similarly found my path all around libraries before I wound up in libraries. But I think it's so interesting with so many sort of people just making the decision straight out of undergrad to go and get the MLIS, or to go and get, you know, whatever iteration of the degree you're going to get from an accredited institution. In cases like those, when it's a person moving directly from undergrad into the graduate program, do you have any, you know, technologies, tools, skills that you'd encourage them to look into to sort of enhance their chances of landing that library job?
I think you need to be kind of an early adopter and be willing to try things out because, your patrons, depending on whether you're academic or public, particularly public, your patrons are going to be doing all sorts of different stuff, and they're going to come to you with questions. Our poor reference librarians downstairs, they are constantly helping people on computers and photocopying and with their digital readers. And not that that's not important. I mean, I do the technology in our building, so for me, that's great. That's super important. But
yes,
I know they've got other things that they're working on as well. You know, but we've got a great staff, and they're willing to try things. And Like, oh, we want to create a library Instagram account. Okay, great. What are we going to put on it? Like, we want to do this thing. Okay, well, let's do that. How can we do that? Do that? I help provide them with the tools so they can do those types of things. And then I'm constantly trying out new pieces of software and new different things and letting people try new stuff. And I know that's not always the case. So, you know, you try to build, here we're trying to build an atmosphere where people can try things. And sometimes they don't work.
Yeah,
so,
it's true. And that can be hard, you know, accepting that failure is a possibility and then actually failing are sort of two different like things to have to cope with. And particularly early in your professional career, I think learning to deal with failure, coping with criticism are so critical, like outside of technology altogether. Yeah. But in terms of technology, is there a tool or application that you're using a lot lately that you'd like to share with the audience?
It's not a new tool. I use Notepad all the time. All the time. I have it open on my computer right now. I'm always throwing notes in a Notepad and links and things, and I could probably use something more complicated like Evernote, which I've used in the past, or Trello, which actually I really like. Yeah. But Notepad, the great thing about Notepad, because then I end up having to make sort of little user manuals or you know, guides for the public. I do a lot of the updating on our website that we have right now, and Notepad strips all the formatting that other software puts onto text, and then you can cut and paste stuff out of Notepad into any program and it'll look nice and clean. There's a funky little thing you can do to add a timestamp to Notepad if you're keeping.
Nice.
Oh gosh, now I've said that. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. If you Google Notepad timestamp, you'll find it right away. But it's something like hashtag date.
Okay.
And then every time you open the file, it puts the date and time at the top of the Notepad. So like if you're using Notepad to keep notes over the course of a month, like for your monthly report, you'd have it dated. So every time you open it up, automatically puts the date in there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's one of those little tools that has always been a part of computers that I think people don't use, but I use it every day.
I use Notepad actually a lot. We've been doing some text mining projects, and it's actually the easiest way I've found to strip formatting out of text, you know, and just put it into a simple file that then you can run the analysis on. I think I agree with you. It's a really underrated tool.
Yeah.
In terms of technology tools, though, beyond what you're using, right? Is there anything new that's out there that's exciting to you? We've heard about Raspberry Pi from a couple of people. We've heard about, you know, Google Cardboard. Anything that you want to toss out there?
I've got 2 Raspberry Pis sitting on the counter behind me that I'm trying to figure out what can we do with them. And we've got a 3D printer that we've been using internally for program stuff. So like our teen librarian, every fall we do a big read for the community. We did Poe a couple years ago. So she did story jars where the kids had to recreate a Poe story in a jar. Nice. So she printed a bunch of hearts and ravens and bones and coffins, and she used those for the kids to build the story jar, and then they took them home.
I want to go to that story time. I want to build that jar.
Our teen librarian is awesome. She does a lot of really cool stuff. But something that we just recently started using here is Osmo, and that's OSMO, and it's a children's app and activity for the iPad. So there's a stand that you hook the iPad into, and it's got a little thing you clip over the camera. And for example, there's a drawing one where it'll project, you draw on the piece of paper, but you watch the iPad screen and you trace and draw, and then you draw a copy of what's on the iPad screen.
Cool.
They've got a letter one where they'll show you a picture, like a picture of a frog, and they have a set of blue alphabet tiles and a set of red alphabet tiles, and you slide the letters into the space that the camera can see, and then you get points for your letters that make the word.
Cool.
So you like compete against each other.
Yeah.
And so there's 4 different pieces of 4 different apps that it has that they sell as a suite. They're super great. They're great for preschool, even early grade school. And honestly, the librarians love them. Like anytime they come out, we're always like, oh, I want to draw something. Like there's a Tanagram one where you shape, triangles and blocks into different animals and things. And then you can unlock more difficult ones as you complete things. So that's really cool. We've got 2 sets of those here that we use for programs, and the kids love them.
I would say that aspect of play and playing with technology is definitely one of my favorite things about the profession, just play in general. We've been going crazy. I work in an academic library with the Color Our Collections thing, because it's just so nice to take a pause, color something in, be reminded of like the childhood joy of like finding that stuff. So that must be really cool in the public library, where there are also so many kids running around making use of your services.
Yeah, our children's department is really busy. They do almost 400 programs a year.
Wow.
It's crazy. It averages to more than one a day. And they do tons of school visits, and we've got a middle school across the street. So and middle school is 5th through 8th grade here. So you get a nice blend of ages. We've got a number of iPads here, and the school district here in Waukesha has provided K through 12 an iPad for all the students.
Wow, that's incredible.
And starting in, it's either 2nd or 3rd grade. So my 4th grader has one and my 1st grader doesn't, for my kids at home. They get to bring it home with them. When they're younger, it stays at school. But once, I want to say it was in 2nd grade, but maybe it's 3rd, they get to bring it home with them. And then they do everything through Google Docs. They get a Google account, and that's where they write their reports and make their presentations. And, so that's something that we kind of support by proxy here, by having, nice solid Wi-Fi for the kids and those types of things. Because like our Teen Zone computers all of a sudden stopped being used.
Yeah.
Every kid was staring at an iPad,
Wow.
Every kid was staring at an iPad,
No, that's so cool. I hadn't even thought of that aspect of supporting technologies for children. And that would be such a big part of what you do.
Yeah, and our children's librarian, we did an iLead program here in Wisconsin this past summer. And she and a group did apps for parents. And so, they built a website with recommendations for apps and different things. And then we try to do that. We've got a couple dozen iPads that we use for programs, and we're always adding new stuff and letting people try things out. Because those kids eventually will enter the school district and get an iPad.
Yeah.
And we've got a wide variety of socioeconomic groups here in town. So some people, their kids have one, or the family has them. Some people don't have internet at home.
Yeah.
So you just have a balance of things.
Definitely. Now, you talked a little bit about this website of apps for parents and stuff.
Yes.
Are there any other sort of projects, public-facing blog stuff, Twitter accounts that you'd like to share with our audience? Where can they find the cool stuff you're doing?
We've got an Instagram account for Waukesha Public Library that is slowly building. We've got some really cool pictures, historical artifacts that our librarians find in the building, plus new things, displays. And I'm trying to update WaukeshaPublicLibrary.org, trying to keep that up to date with different things. And our previous website was very static, and it didn't update very much. And this new one, we just find, in addition to posting new programs and events, we're constantly reinventing things. Like the main page for adult stuff is not very exciting, so we're making a new one that'll be a little bit more interactive.
Cool.
We're just trying to do some different things. Added some stuff for the teen librarian so that she can make her page more mutable and constantly change it, because they're always doing lots of different types of programs. And so it's more of a blog type thing for her, which is easier for her to update than going in and editing the page every time.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds really cool. John, it's been such a pleasure talking with you today. Thanks for taking us through your services and also your personal interests. It's been really an adventure, maybe even a steampunk adventure, given the size of those headphones.
Yeah, I need to put like some gears on them.
Yeah, definitely. And some goggles. It's just a whole different.
Exactly.
So thanks again. And we'll see you back, everyone, for our next episode of Begin Transmission. Until then.